The unseen world, divine protection from the jinn through the Qur'an's light. Have you ever experienced a sudden chill in the stillness of the night, or felt an eerie presence, as though unseen eyes were watching you? Perhaps you've heard faint whispers when no one was around, leaving you unsettled and fearful. These moments are not mere illusions. They are glimpses into the world of the unseen, a realm where the jinn exist. Created from smokeless fire, the jinn are beings we cannot see, but their influence can sometimes be felt. Yet, what if I told you that Allah, in His infinite mercy, has given us a powerful weapon to protect ourselves from their harm? This weapon lies within the verses of the Qur'an, a divine shield that the forces of darkness fear. For years, many have suffered under the whispers and disturbances of the jinn, unaware that the cure has always been within their reach, the Qur'an. These verses are not just words. They are a source of light, a fortress of protection, and a means to draw closer to Allah. Today, you will discover the power of these verses, the ones the jinn dread the most. By the end, you will learn about the verse that strikes fear into their hearts, a verse that can transform your life and bring you peace. But before we begin, take a moment to reflect on the blessings of the Qur'an. Share this knowledge with your loved ones, for everyone deserves to feel safe and protected under Allah's guidance. If you're new here, join us on this journey of faith and discovery, and subscribe for more insights that will strengthen your connection with Islam. Together, let's uncover the treasures of the Qur'an and embrace the protection Allah has bestowed upon us. The unseen world. Who are the jinn? The jinn are not mere stories or legends. They are real beings, created by Allah, existing in a world parallel to ours, yet hidden from our sight. In the Qur'an, Allah tells us, "And I did not create the jinn and mankind except to worship me." Surah Ad-Dariyat 51-56. This verse reminds us that both humans and jinn share a common purpose, to worship and submit to Allah alone. However, while humans were created from clay, the jinn were brought into existence from something entirely different, a smokeless flame of fire. Allah says, "And He created the jinn from a smokeless flame of fire." Surah Ar-Rahman 55:15. Just like humans, the jinn have free will. Among them are those who choose to believe and obey Allah, but there are also those who rebel, following the footsteps of Satan. These rebellious jinn roam the earth unseen, whispering doubts, spreading fear, and causing harm. Their ultimate goal is to mislead humanity, to pull us away from the path of righteousness and closer to sin and disobedience. They may even go as far as possessing individuals, creating chaos in their lives. Yet, despite their hidden nature and their attempts to harm us, we must remember that Allah is the most powerful. He has given us the tools to protect ourselves through the Qur'an, through prayer, and through His remembrance. The jinn, no matter how strong they may seem, are powerless against the words of Allah. By turning to Him and seeking refuge in His verses, we can shield ourselves from their whispers and live a life of peace and faith. This understanding of the jinn is not meant to frighten us, but to remind us of the importance of staying close to Allah. He is our protector, our guide, and our ultimate source of strength. Let us strive to worship Him sincerely, seek His protection, and remain steadfast on the path of truth. Why do the jinn fear these verses? The words of Allah are not mere words. They are a source of immense power and light. When recited with faith and sincerity, they create an unbreakable shield around us, a barrier that the jinn cannot cross. The Qur'an is not just a book. It is a divine weapon, a source of healing, and a mercy for those who believe. Allah says in the Qur'an, "And we send down in the Qur'an that which is healing and mercy for the believers." Surah Al-Isra, 1782. These verses carry the essence of Allah's protection, and when we recite them, they become a force that the forces of darkness cannot withstand. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, himself turned to the Qur'an for protection. He taught us to seek refuge in Allah's words from the evil of the unseen, from the whispers of shaitan, and from the harm of the rebellious jinn. The verses of the Qur'an act like a sword against the jinn. When recited, they burn them, drive them away, and shatter their plans. This is why the jinn fear these verses. This is why they do not want you to know them or recite them. Imagine the power of these verses. They are not just a means of protection, but also a source of comfort and peace. When you recite them, you are calling upon Allah's mercy and strength. You are reminding yourself and the unseen world that Allah is your protector, and nothing can harm you without His permission. Surah An-Nas, 114, 4-5. These whispers can lead us to sin, fear, and confusion if we are not careful. 2. Causing nightmares and sleep paralysis. The shayateen often disturb our peace during sleep, causing terrifying nightmares or even sleep paralysis. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, taught us to seek Allah's protection before sleeping, reciting verses like Ayat al-Kursi, Surah al-Baqarah 2:255, and the last two verses of Surah al-Baqarah can shield us from their harm. 3. Possessing individuals. Jinn possession is a real phenomenon, where a jinn takes control of a person's body or mind. However, it can be cured through ruqya, spiritual healing, which involves reciting specific Quranic verses and supplications prescribed in Islam. The Qur'an and Sunnah provide clear guidance on how to seek healing and protection. 4. Assisting magicians in black magic. The shayatin often collaborate with magicians to perform black magic, which is strictly forbidden in Islam. Allah warns us in Surah Al-Baqarah, "And they followed what the devils recited during the reign of Solomon." But Solomon did not disbelieve. Rather, the devils disbelieved teaching people magic. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:102. Black magic is a tool of shaitan to create division, harm, and suffering. 5. Inhabiting abandoned places or homes with weak faith. The shayateen are often found in places where Allah's remembrance is absent, such as abandoned buildings or homes where faith is weak. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Do not turn your houses into graves. Verily, shaitan does not enter a house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited." Sahih Muslim 780. Reciting the Qur'an regularly in our homes creates a barrier against their influence. Despite their efforts, the shayateen cannot harm a believer who is under Allah's protection. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, taught us numerous ways to guard ourselves, such as reciting specific Quranic verses, making dua, and maintaining strong faith. This is why the jinn and shayateen fear the Qur'an. Its verses burn them, drive them away, and destroy their plans. In the next part of this journey, we will reveal the most powerful and feared verses in the Qur'an, the ones that the jinn cannot stand to hear. These verses are not just words. They are a divine shield, a source of healing, and a means of drawing closer to Allah. Stay with us as we uncover these life-changing verses. Before we continue, take a moment to comment below. I seek refuge in Allah from the cursed shaitan. Let's fill the comments with remembrance and protection, reminding ourselves and others of Allah's power and mercy. Together, let's strengthen our faith and guard ourselves against the unseen. Why the jinn fear certain verses from the Qur'an. What if I told you that there are words so powerful, so filled with light, that they make the jinn tremble, burn, and flee in terror? These words are not incantations, magic spells, or ancient rituals. They are the words of Allah, the Most High, the Creator of all things. The jinn fear these verses because they carry the power of Allah's truth, a power that weakens their grip, exposes their deception, and destroys their influence over humanity. This is why the jinn do not want you to know these verses. But today you will. Allah says in the Qur'an, "And we send down in the Qur'an that which is a healing and a mercy for the believers, but it does not increase the wrongdoers except in loss." Surah Al-Isra, 1782. These verses are not just words. They are a source of healing, a mercy, and a divine weapon against the forces of darkness. When recited with faith and sincerity, they create a barrier that the jinn cannot cross. They burn the shayatin, drive them away, and shatter their plans. The jinn fear these verses because they are a reminder of Allah's ultimate authority. They know that no matter how much they try to mislead or harm, they are powerless against the words of the Creator. The Qur'an is not just a book. It is a living miracle, a source of guidance, and a means of protection. When we recite these verses, we are calling upon Allah's power and mercy, and the jinn cannot stand against it. This is why it is so important to learn and recite these verses regularly. They are not just for moments of fear or distress. They are a daily reminder of Allah's presence in our lives. By turning to the Qur'an, we not only protect ourselves from harm, but also strengthen our faith and draw closer to Allah. So, let us hold tightly to these verses, for they are our shield, our sword, and our connection to the divine. The jinn may try to mislead us, but with the Qur'an in our hearts, we are invincible. Stay with us as we uncover the most powerful verses that the jinn fear the most. These verses will change your life, bring you peace, and strengthen your faith. Before we continue, take a moment to reflect on the power of Allah's words. If you believe in the protection, the jinn, no matter how cunning or persistent, are powerless against the words of the Creator. This is why it is so important to learn and recite these verses regularly. They are not just for moments of fear or distress. They are a daily reminder of Allah's presence in our lives. By turning to the Qur'an, we not only protect ourselves from harm, but also strengthen our faith and draw closer to Allah. So, let us hold tightly to these verses, for they are our shield, our sword, and our connection to the divine. The jinn may try to mislead us, but with the Qur'an in our hearts, we are invincible. Are you truly protected? Many people live their lives in fear, haunted by the effects of black magic, the evil eye, or the whispers of shaitan. They feel helpless, not realizing that Allah, in His infinite mercy, has already provided them with the ultimate solution. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, once said, "Do not turn your houses into graves." Verily, shaitan does not enter a house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited. Sahih Muslim 780. This powerful reminder shows us that the Qur'an is not just a book of guidance, but also a source of protection and light for our homes and hearts. So, let us ask ourselves, are we truly taking advantage of this divine gift? Are we reciting these verses daily to shield ourselves and our loved ones from harm? Or are we leaving our doors open to the whispers and plots of Shaitan and the rebellious jinn? In this journey together, we will uncover 7 powerful verses from the Qur'an, verses that have the ability to drive away the jinn, break the chains of black magic, and strengthen our faith in Allah. These verses are not just words. They are a fortress, a source of healing, and a means of drawing closer to our Creator. By the end of this video, you will discover the verse that Shaitan fears the most, the one that can transform your life and bring you peace. But before we continue, take a moment to reflect on the power of Allah's words. If you believe in the protection of the Qur'an, hit the like button and comment below. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Shaitan. Let us fill the comments with remembrance of Allah, for in His remembrance hearts find peace. Remember, the Qur'an is not just a book to be read. It is a shield to be held, a light to guide us, and a mercy to heal us. Let us not neglect this priceless gift. Together, let's take the first step toward true protection and unwavering faith. Stay with me until the end, for what you are about to learn may change your life forever. The hidden creatures among us. They are always present, watching, yet invisible to our eyes. They move silently through the shadows, whispering into the hearts of people, sowing doubt, fear, and misguidance. Some of them seek to lead us astray, while others remain unseen, carrying out their own affairs. But who are the jinn, truly? Allah tells us in the Qur'an, "And I did not create the jinn and mankind except to worship me." Surah Ad-Dariyat 51-56. This means that the jinn, like humans, were created for a purpose, to worship Allah alone. However, unlike us, they exist in a hidden realm, a parallel world that remains a mystery to most of humanity. The jinn were created from smokeless fire, a scorching, pure flame, while humans were fashioned from clay. Allah says in the Qur'an, "And He created the jinn from a smokeless flame of fire." Surah Ar-Rahman 55:15. This unique creation grants them abilities beyond human comprehension. They can move at incredible speeds, take on the forms of animals or even humans, whisper thoughts into our minds, and inhabit places like abandoned buildings, deserts, and even our homes, if we are not vigilant. Yet, despite their extraordinary abilities, the jinn are not all-powerful. They cannot control or harm us unless we allow them to. Allah assures us in the Qur'an, "Indeed, my servants, no authority will you have over them, except those who follow you of the deviators." Surah Al-Hijr 15:42. This means that as long as we remain steadfast in our faith, seek Allah's protection, and avoid sinful behavior, the jinn have no power over us. The key to safeguarding ourselves lies in our connection with Allah. By turning to Him, reciting His verses, and seeking refuge in His words, we can build a fortress around ourselves that the jinn cannot penetrate. The Qur'an is not just a book of guidance. It is a shield, a source of light, and a means of protection against the unseen. So, let us not fear the hidden world of the jinn. Instead, let us focus on strengthening our faith, seeking Allah's protection, and living a life that pleases Him. Remember, the jinn may have abilities we do not, but we have something far greater, the mercy and power of Allah. With Him as our protector, we have nothing to fear. Are all jinn evil? It's a common misconception that all jinn are evil. But this is far from the truth. Just like humans, the jinn are divided into two groups: those who believe and obey Allah, and those who rebel and follow the path of Shaitan. In Surah Al-Jinn, Allah tells us, "And among us are those who have submitted to Allah, and among us are the unjust. And whoever has submitted, those have sought the right course." Surah Al-Jinn 72:11. This verse makes it clear that there are jinn who have chosen to submit to Allah, worship Him sincerely, and avoid harming humans. These believing jinn are not our enemies. They are creatures of Allah, striving to fulfill their purpose just as we are. On the other hand, there are the disbelieving jinn, known as shayateen, devils. These are the ones who have chosen to follow Iblis, Satan, and dedicate themselves to misleading and harming humanity. Allah warns us about them in the Qur'an, and thus we have made for every prophet an enemy, devils from mankind and jinn, inspiring each other with decorative speech and delusion. Surah Al-An'am 6:112. These rebellious jinn work tirelessly to spread evil, whisper doubts, and lead people away from the path of Allah. This distinction reminds us that the world of the jinn is complex, much like our own. Just as there are good and bad among humans, the same is true for the jinn. The key is to focus on our own actions and our relationship with Allah. By seeking His protection, reciting His verses, and living a life of faith and obedience, we can guard ourselves against the harm of the disbelieving jinn. At the same time, we should remember that not all jinn are out to harm us. Some are believers, worshiping Allah and staying away from humans. This understanding should not make us fearful, but rather cautious and mindful of our actions. Let us strive to strengthen our faith, seek Allah's guidance, and trust in His protection. After all, it is only through Him that we can find true peace and safety, both in this world and the unseen. The Shayatin, the army of Iblis. Not all evil originates from humans. A significant part of it comes from the Shayatin among the jinn. These are the devils, the rebellious ones who have pledged their allegiance to Iblis, the sworn enemy of humanity. Iblis, who was himself from the jinn, defied Allah's command and became the source of all evil. Allah tells us in the Qur'an, "And mention when we said to the angels, 'Prostrate before Adam,' so they prostrated, except for Iblis. He was of the jinn and departed from the command of his Lord." Surah Al-Kahf 18:50. From that moment, Iblis vowed to mislead and destroy humanity, declaring his enmity toward us. In Surah Al-Araf, Allah reveals Iblis's chilling promise. "I said, 'Because you have put me in error, I will surely sit in wait for them on your straight path. Then I will come to them from before them, and from behind them, and on their right, and on their left, and you will not find most of them grateful to you.'" Surah Al-Araf 7:16-17. This is the strategy of Iblis and his army of shayateen. They attack from every angle, whispering doubts, fueling desires, and tempting us into sin. They use every means possible to lead us astray, whether through black magic, nightmares, or even possession. But their most dangerous weapon is far subtler, making us forget Allah. Shaitan and his followers aim to distract us from our purpose, to pull us away from worship and remembrance of our Creator. Allah warns us, and He arouses desire in them, but Satan does not promise them except delusion. Surah An-Nisa 4:120. The Shayatin promise us false happiness, but their promises are nothing but lies and illusions. Despite their relentless efforts, we must remember that the Shayateen have no real power over us unless we allow them to. Allah has given us the tools to protect ourselves. the Qur'an, sincere prayer, and His remembrance. By turning to Allah, seeking His refuge, and staying steadfast on His path, we can break free from the whispers of Shaitan and his army. Let us not be deceived by their tricks or overwhelmed by their attacks. Instead, let us hold tightly to our faith, recite the verses of the Qur'an, and seek Allah's protection at all times. The shayatin may try to lead us astray, but with Allah as our guide and protector, we are stronger than their illusions. Remember, their greatest fear is a heart that is firmly connected to Allah. So let us strive to be among those who remember Him always and remain grateful for His countless blessings. How do they interact with humans? The jinn and shayatin can interact with humans in various ways, often causing harm and distress. Here are some of the ways they affect our lives. 1. Whispering evil thoughts and doubts. The shayatin are masters of deception, planting negative thoughts and doubts in our minds. Allah warns us in Surah An-Nas from the evil of the whisperer who withdraws, who whispers into the hearts of mankind, among the jinn and mankind. Of the Qur'an, comment below, I seek refuge in Allah from the cursed Shaitan. Let us fill the comments with remembrance of Allah, for in His remembrance hearts find peace. Together, let's embrace the power of the Qur'an and live a life under Allah's protection. The Qur'an, a divine shield against the jinn. The Qur'an is far more than a book. It is a divine weapon, a source of light, and an impenetrable shield against the unseen. The words of Allah carry a power that the disbelieving jinn cannot withstand. When recited with faith and sincerity, these verses burn the jinn, weaken their influence, and force them to flee. The Qur'an exposes their tricks and illusions, making it impossible for them to mislead those who seek knowledge and hold firmly to their faith. For the jinn, the Qur'an is like a spiritual fire. It causes them unbearable pain and destroys their plans. It is also an unbreakable shield, protecting those who recite it from their harm. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, taught us, do not turn your homes into graves. Indeed, Shaitan does not enter a house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited. Sahih Muslim 780. This means that by regularly reciting certain verses, such as Surah Al-Baqarah, we can create a spiritual barrier that the jinn cannot cross. Our homes become fortresses of faith, safe from their whispers and disturbances. But what happens when someone is already affected by the jinn? This is where ruqyah, spiritual healing, comes in. Ruqyah is a practice prescribed in Islam, involving the recitation of specific Quranic verses and supplications to seek Allah's healing and protection. It is a powerful tool to cure ailments caused by black magic, the evil eye, or jinn possession. The Qur'an itself is a source of healing, as Allah says, and we send down in the Qur'an that which is healing and mercy for the believers. Surah Al-Isra 1782. Through ruqyah, we call upon Allah's power to break the influence of the jinn, restore peace to the affected person, and strengthen their faith. It is a reminder that no matter how strong the forces of darkness may seem, Allah's power is far greater. By turning to Him and relying on His words, we can overcome any challenge. The Qur'an is not just a means of protection. It is a source of guidance, healing, and mercy. Let us make it a part of our daily lives, reciting its verses with understanding and faith. By doing so, we not only protect ourselves and our loved ones, but also draw closer to Allah, the most merciful and the most powerful. Stay with us as we continue to explore the verses that the jinn fear the most. These verses are not just words. They are a lifeline, a source of strength, and a means of connecting with our Creator. Together, let's embrace the power of the Qur'an and live a life under Allah's protection. Before we continue, take a moment to reflect on the power of Allah's words. If you believe in the protection of the Qur'an, comment below. I seek refuge in Allah from the cursed shaitan. Let us fill the comments with remembrance of Allah, for in His remembrance, hearts find peace. The role of Ruqya. How the Qur'an expels the jinn. Ruqya is the Islamic practice of healing through the recitation of the Qur'an and supplications. It is a powerful and authentic method of protection against possession, black magic, and the evil eye. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, himself used Ruqya to cure people, demonstrating its effectiveness and importance in Islam. Ruqya is not just a remedy. It is a means of seeking Allah's help and mercy, relying on His words to heal and protect. Here's how you can use Ruqya for protection and healing. 1. Recite Surah Al-Fatiha, the opening. Surah Al-Fatiha is a powerful chapter that serves as a foundation for all forms of Ruqya. It is a source of healing and protection, as it connects us directly to Allah. Recite it with faith and sincerity to seek His guidance and mercy. 2. Recite Ayatul Kursi, Surah Al-Baqarah, 2:255. Ayatul Kursi is one of the most powerful verses in the Qur'an. It creates a spiritual barrier against evil and protects those who recite it. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Whoever recites Ayatul Kursi after every obligatory prayer, nothing will stand between them and paradise except death." Sunan an-Nasa'i. Recite it daily to shield yourself and your home from harm. 3rd, recite Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah An-Nas. These 3 surahs, known as the Mu'awwidat, the chapters of refuge, are a powerful combination for protection. Recite each of them 3 times in the morning and evening, as the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, taught. They protect against all forms of harm, including the evil eye, black magic, and the whispers of shaitan. 4th, recite Surah Al-Baqarah regularly in your home. Surah Al-Baqarah is a shield for your home. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said,